chosen ones, this word did not arrive in a moment. It did not appear because something went wrong today. It did not come because of one conversation, one incident, or one emotion. This warning was observed over time. Heaven watched patterns form. Heaven watched choices repeat. Heaven watched influence grow quietly. And only when the pattern reached a point where delay could turn into damage, heaven spoke. God does not interrupt lightly. He does not disrupt peace without cause. He does not insert warnings into your life casually. When heaven speaks this clearly, it means a protective boundary is being drawn now, not after loss, not after regret. This is not panic, this is precision. This is foresight stepping in before consequence gains permission. This warning is not about a stranger, not about someone you already labeled unsafe, not about an enemy you've been praying against. This is someone close enough to feel familiar, close enough to feel trusted, close enough to feel normal. They influence your tone, your pace, your decisions. Not loudly, not aggressively, but subtly. Familiarity disarms discernment. And when something feels normal, it stops getting questioned. That is where heaven grows concerned. Not because of proximity, but because of unchecked closeness. Hear this with clarity. God is not saying this person is evil, not saying they are demonic, not saying they are intentionally harmful. This warning is not about who they are. It is about where they are going. Direction matters more than intention. Someone can have good intentions and still walk in a direction that delays destiny. Misalignment is more dangerous than opposition because it feels harmless while quietly slowing movement. Attacks push you forward. Misalignment slows you down without resistance. There was no betrayal, no explosion, no argument, no obvious red flag. So you never prayed. You never paused to ask heaven because nothing looked wrong. But God does not only watch moments, He watches momentum. He watches what you normalize. He watches what you tolerate. He watches what you excuse. Silence does not always mean safety. Sometimes it means unchecked influence gaining ground quietly. And heaven intervenes before damage announces itself. This is where the warning sharpens. You didn't change overnight. You adjusted gradually. You softened standards just a little. You delayed decisions just once. You lowered urgency just enough to keep peace. Not because God told you to, but because you didn't want tension. But peace that costs alignment does not remain peace. It becomes quiet resistance to obedience. Heaven noticed every adjustment God never requested.
That's why this is difficult to discern. They don't mock faith. They don't reject prayer. They don't attack purpose. They postpone obedience. Later, after this, when things calm down, when timing feels better. But heaven does not move in eventually. Heaven moves in now. Delayed obedience is not neutral. It slowly transfers authority away from momentum. And anyone who walks closely with delay eventually feels slowed, not attacked. God is not threatened by who is around you. He is careful about who has access, who hears your doubts first, who influences your pace, who shapes your decisions before prayer. Not everyone close to you is meant to be within reach of your inner process. Some people belong near you, but not inside your discernment space. Access determines influence. Influence determines direction. This is uncomfortable, but necessary. Your discipline stabilized him. Your clarity covered his confusion. Your obedience compensated for his inconsistency. What looked like loyalty became imbalance. God never designed you to carry someone who refuses to carry responsibility themselves. That is not partnership. That is displacement. And displacement always drains the called one first. Everything heaven assigns has timing, even relationships, even access, even influence. This connection has reached a crossroad moment. It will either align with where you're going or limit how far you can go. God is not forcing separation. He is demanding discernment without emotion. What happens next depends on how clearly you respond now. Understand this clearly. If heaven wanted distance without care, this word would never have come. God warns what he intends to protect. Correction is not rejection. Concern is not condemnation. This warning exists because purpose is still active and alignment still matters. Mercy always speaks before loss does.
You assumed access meant approval. You thought proximity meant permission. But heaven does not guard you loudly. It guards you strategically. Some people were allowed near you not because they were safe, but because God trusted your discernment. That trust was a privilege. Yet discernment is fragile when familiarity creeps in, when empathy starts negotiating with clarity, when patience begins excusing patterns. And the moment discernment is negotiated, heaven does something precise. Not dramatic, not emotional, not reactive. Heaven intervenes quietly. Heaven intervenes clearly. Heaven intervenes firmly. This warning is not panic, it is protection activating. You are not in danger because you missed something. You are being protected because God saw where this could go. That is how serious your calling is. Let this settle. This is not reaction, this is observation. God is not asking you to sever suddenly. He is asking you to watch accurately. Watch. Consistency over time, not intensity in moments. Response to clarity, not response to comfort. Resistance to alignment when expectations rise. Light reveals alignment. When clarity increases, truth has nowhere to hide. People don't fail under pressure, they reveal what they were already resisting. This is not about what he says, this is about what changes when clarity arrives. Alignment is never confused under light. Here is the danger, and it is subtle. If nothing changes, this will cost you timing, momentum, sharpness. Not suddenly, not dramatically, slowly. And slow loss is the most dangerous loss because it feels like patience, loyalty, or grace. Momentum fades quietly. Urgency dulls gradually. Discernment blurs gently. You won't feel attacked, you'll feel slightly delayed, just a bit heavier, not as clear as before. God is intervening now because once timing is lost, no apology can buy it back. This must land clearly. You are not his savior, not his substitute for obedience, not his spiritual safety net. God never assigns a chosen one to compensate for someone else's refusal to grow. You were not anointed to carry another man's stagnation. You were not graced to drag someone into alignment. You were not called to explain away resistance. If God wanted him aligned, God would deal with him directly. Your assignment is obedience, not rescue. Here is heaven's test, and it is flawless. When clarity increases, the right people rise, the wrong people resist. You won't need to decide. You won't need to confront. You won't need to explain. Alignment always decides. Those meant to stay will lean in when expectations rise. Those meant to leave will grow uncomfortable with precision. You are not losing anyone. You are watching truth reveal itself.
The next level of your calling requires clean alignment. Influence expands only when resistance is removed. Authority multiplies only when compromise exits. God cannot widen your reach while something near you pulls against direction. This is not punishment, this is preparation. Heaven is adjusting your environment before expanding your assignment. Protection always precedes promotion. Hear this clearly. This warning is not for discussion. Explanation invites manipulation. Debate dilutes authority. Clarifying too much gives resistance room to breathe. Silence preserves power. Let God handle confrontation. Let heaven expose what needs exposure. Your role is obedience, not justification. Heaven does not force, it responds. If you tighten discernment, peace increases. If you ignore this, pressure follows. God releases consequences when warnings are ignored, not to punish, but to teach alignment. The outcome is not fixed. Your response determines it. This is mercy. Heaven spoke before damage formed, before delay hardened, before loss became expensive. That is not fear, that is care. God intervened early because your future is costly and delay would be unacceptable. And heaven declares, guard alignment over attachment. Choose clarity over comfort. Protect purpose over familiarity. There is a man around you that I am concerned about, not because of who he is, but because of where he refuses to go, and I will not let you stall there with him. Sealing prayer. May discernment sharpen without fear. May obedience stand firm without explanation. May alignment govern every relationship. What God warned you about today will protect your future tomorrow. This was not fear, this was care. Do not ignore it.